Welcome back, our dear viewers, continuing our special coverage for the first phase of the elections of the House of Representatives inside of Egypt, which is resuming for the second day today and is taking place in 14 governorates, which are the governorates of Al-Giza, Al-Fayoum, Asyut, Al-Minya, Sohag, Al-Wadi Al-Jadid, Al-Aqsa, Aswan, Qina, Alexandria, Al-Bahira, Matruh, Bani Suef, and the Red Sea. We are very much delighted to have with us over the phone Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of Political Science. Dr. Wagih, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon to you.
Always a pleasure to have you with us, Dr. Wagih. Dr. Wagih, how do you see the voting taking place in Egypt for the second day, for the first phase of the parliamentary elections?
Actually, it is very uncomfortable.
Yes, Dr. Wagih, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
You hear me now?
Yes. How do you see the voting process till this moment, Dr. Wagih?
Yes, I think this is very important event.
Yes.
And those who are capable of going down and voting, it is a duty. And I hope that this kind of election would result in an assembly that really be the voice of the people.
Yes. Dr. Wagih, of course, the voting here is taking place after the Senate resumed, of course, and the voting process for the Senate House resumed, and the first session did take place. How do you see the existence now of both houses of parliament in Egypt and its importance for the political life in the country?
I think any national assembly is very important to any country who seek democracy, seek widening the scope of democracy. And I think this is an inner will for all the Egyptian people to enlarge the process of democratization. And democratization needs some kind of organization. And this organization could be very well embodied in forming an elected National Assembly who can really be the voice of the people.
Yes. Sir, how do you see the importance of these elections for the Egyptian citizen? To what extent it is important for the Egyptian citizens, and to what extent it is important for the Egyptian citizen to go and use his right to choose his representative in the parliament?
It is extremely important because the challenges that face Egypt is unprecedented. We are facing challenges. We need to develop our country. It needs a great deal of collective work, of persuasion, and of doing the job according to crossing all the isolated islands. This needs the representative of the people to be in good mediation between the government and the people to achieve the targets of development. And also, there are outside challenges. And these councils and this assembly is supposed to have a say in these challenges.
Yes. Dr. Wagih, could you please shed light on the task of both the Senate and the Parliament in the coming phases? What are we supposed to expect from both houses of Parliament as an Egyptian citizen?
Yeah, I think I expect that they could, these two great institutions would play an important role, the role that's supposed to be there.
Yes.
There, like to be a good mediator between the demands and the voice of the people and the government, and supporting the voice of the people and achieve a collective satisfaction in the country.
And what about the challenges that those houses of parliament would be facing, Dr. Wagih?
Actually, the challenge is that to have leaders, leaders of opinion, people who really can dare to speak out in a very belonging way. You belong to the country by exposing your own point of view in a nationalist sense and in keeping the country strong and coherent. This is a very important equation that I expect every representative would really embody.
Yes. How would the parliamentary elections affect the economy and the flow of investment into the country, Dr. Wagih, from your point of view?
Actually, when we have a state when we have a functioning institutions, I think this calls for stability.
Yes.
And the economy without stability would be really in a jeopardizing position. But if we have this stability in the institutions of the country and in all aspects of the state, I think this is a very important demand these days for economic development and for facing unprecedented challenges.
Indeed. Dr. Wagih, what about the development in the country? To what extent holding such parliamentary elections and the Senate beforehand would actually help the development process in the country?
Actually, it is very important to have, as I said, a cemented group who really care about the real objectives of development. And also, I would like to call on them to suggest topics like, for instance, we have a challenge in water. I think that when we are talking or trying to think about converting the water of Congo, I think this should be a very prime importance for people to ask people to, for all Egyptians, cooperate collectively to achieve such a thing, because it would be a historic thing if we can, the Egyptian leadership is keen to achieve something like that. If we are capable of achieving that collectively, I think we will transform the country from one state to a totally better state, inshallah.
Indeed. What about the choices of candidates? On what criteria it should be based on or built on, from your point of view, as a voter now? How I should be choosing my candidate or the one that I will cast my vote for?
Yeah, I think this is really a challenging thing. Why?
Indeed.
Because people, I think, need to have some kind of good search on the profiles of the candidates and to try to know who is who you are supposed to give their voice to. So I think this is challenging by itself, especially that people are really engaged in so many activities and we are having corona. So I think I can find an excuse for some people for this difficulty.
Yes. What about the quota of women, the participation of women as candidates here and vote and representative for the Egyptians in the parliament? How do you see the participation of women in parliament?
Actually, it is very important, and I think that Egyptian women proved to be leaders, real leaders. In so many previous historic situations.
Indeed.
Recently in Egypt. We cannot forget the role, which is very important.
Of course.
And I think this role has to be enhanced, has to be respected, has to be raised also in our agenda.
Yes. And what about the role of women in the voting process? And as we have been watching since yesterday, we have seen very good participation for women voters here in Egypt in the parliamentary elections. Actually,
it is a very extremely nice and very important phenomena that really observers can observe. Women really are very keen, because they are the pillar of family, to have a stable country. So you can find them doing whatever in their capacity to help in this stability of the country. And I think this is cause for admiration, actually.
Yes. Finally, Dr. Wagih, your message here for the Egyptian citizens, why is it important for them to go to do their duty and to cast their ballot, to vote for the person who will represent them in the parliament?
My point is that those who are capable to vote are supposed to do that, because it is a national mandate.
Indeed.
And it's very important that we help in all our efforts, all possible efforts to get this country going to the right direction to achieve these objectives, inshallah.
Indeed, Dr. Hassan Wagih, Professor of Political Science. Always a pleasure to have you with us. Thank you very much, Dr. Wagih. And our dear viewers will go to a short break, and after that, we'll be back to resume our special coverage. So stay tuned on Nile TV International.